What's going on, guys? Ches Critta, Regional Zombie Warlord, West Coast. So the breaking point is going to be the theme of this video. And my question is going to go out to the detractors, the people that say, don't worry about any of this stuff, the tyranny issue, the economic collapse issue. But everybody has a breaking point. And I mean that in probably the opposite way. So I'm going to frame this with, if you don't know anything about horses, okay, horses have to be quote-unquote broken, okay, meaning they go from kind of being a feral animal to being able to be ridden and dragged around by, harnesses and stuff like that. So how this process works is, it takes about a day, usually, from where a horse says, F you, I'm not going to let you on me, to I will now submit to you for life just because, I've been broken. I give up. But as this pertains to society, and if you haven't seen the movie Ethos, go check it out. I think it's a great documentary. But they go kind of down the Alex Jones conspiracy route, but with a little bit of rationality and a lot less screaming. And they're talking about a lot of the stuff, how it's progressed through history, how we got where we are. Not just the Federal Reserve, but how Bernays kind of shaped society with propaganda to be able to prop up corporations. And the idea that the government is basically completely owned by the banks and corporations, whether you like it or not. My question is, when does it become too much? At what point do you say, no, this is too much? And this is interesting because throughout history, there are instances on both sides of this argument. There are instances where people went willingly into just complete slavery, and there are instances of where people pushed back and fought for freedom, pushed back against the powers that be. Now, as much as you'd like to go down the really super crazy conspiratorial road, a lot of these people are operating right out in the open. I think it's just the fact that the public is really too lazy to pay attention, and that's a lot of it's due to the welfare state. As long as you get just the basic bare minimums of survival, you're not really going to question the hand that feeds you, let alone bite it. Okay? But I'm thinking like the drones in the sky, right? Don't worry about it, Ches Critter. That's no big deal. Or the cameras on the streets. I mean, these cameras are up everywhere, right? All over the place. Now they're talking about introducing talking cameras. Like, hey, you over there, don't jaywalk, right? So, how far does it go? How far does it go before it is no longer okay? And this is directed to the people that say, don't worry about it. You worry too much about it. Life is good. Just earn money. But what if paper currency goes away and it all becomes electronic? And again, this is in that movie, and you need a card. Okay, this card is individual to you. It's attached to all your bank accounts, and you cannot do commerce without this card. Is that okay? Some of you might say, well, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't be able to counterfeit. It makes things more efficient, yada yada. Of course, that'd mean gold and silver would be illegal. I know that would piss a lot of you off. Or a chip, okay? They go into this, and, there are people pushing, legislating, lobbying Congress for what's called, I think, the Verichip system or whatever. And some people are actually, dipping their toe into it. A lot of people are vehemently opposed to this. But to the people out there that say, don't worry about it, I've seen this all before, nothing's going to happen, you worry too much, would you take a chip? Because if you're complacent to a certain point, it will go there eventually. I mean, conspiracy or not, that's the general progression of things, is more control. And now this goes back to a video that Warren did last night. It's a 16-minute video. It's worth a watch. And he was talking about sociopaths, and that these people are in society. And for the most part, they tend to blend right in and hobnob with the top, if not at the top, of society. These people are still around from many of the same lineages that they were, as well as new lineages. And these people don't care terribly about anybody else but themselves. And all they want is control. More control. And again, going back to this documentary, one of the people that apparently was friends with this J.P. Morgan heir, an heir to the J.P. Morgan fortune, was given information right or wrong, I don't know, but I'm just reporting it to you, that supposedly they had advanced knowledge of 9/11, advanced knowledge of the wars that were going to the Middle East for oil, and they disclosed all this information prior to 9/11 ever happening. And then it all played out. And he asked this gentleman, this JP Morgan fellow, why? You already have all the money in the world. You can have anything that you want. Why do you need to go through all this? And the JP Morgan answered, well, just don't worry about people. Why do you worry about people? Come on, just go along with it. And it also ties into the military-industrial complex. These companies that make a profit off war. And they really dig into it, like the Carlyle Group. And how literally they are lobbying for war. I mean, war is extremely profitable. When you make war extremely profitable, you're going to have more of it. It's like subsidizing. It's almost the same thing. Now, my point to all this is, eventually, if you keep going down this road, it leads to a really dark place and the complete loss of everything. Everything. And so, let's say day traders. I know there's a specific day trader, I'm not going to mention his name, that says, don't really worry about any of this stuff. Just become a day trader and make money. But at what point do you submit to being locked in a cell where you day trade there? Or they take your account away completely, or they tax you at 99%. At what point do you stand up? And, it only takes a very small amount of people. I think 3% of Icelanders kick the banks out of their country. God bless them. That's great. But if nobody stands up, you end up with, like genocide. Like, at what point does the government say, we don't really need all the useless eaters anymore? When the voting system completely breaks down or loses relevancy, which it pretty much already has, the people, the average person, their vote doesn't mean anything anymore. You don't need it. And again, in this movie, they said that it's not a presidential election anymore. It's a presidential auction. It's basically a livestock auction. Okay? Whoever gets the most money, whoever placates the corporations more and promises them everything that they want, is going to be the person that's going to be the president. Think back and take a look at it. And I learned some interesting facts even about people that I held in somewhat high esteem compared to today's politicians. Like Reagan and all these people, how they cycle people in and out of the Pentagon for the military-industrial complex to make these corporations filthy rich. Okay? And my point to all of this is I've already opted out of the system as much as I can. The more I learn about it, the more I focus on it, the better. And you can stay blissfully ignorant for a while, but eventually it's going to catch up with you. And at that point, you either lay down with complete submission or you make a stand. And to the average American out there, what is that point? What is your point, I guess, is my question. And especially the people that detract, or basically go butt up against my message. And I say, Ches Critter, you worry about this stuff too much, man. You just need to go out there and make a ton of money and just get along to be along. And I don't buy that. I think that there's a certain amount of responsibility living in a society, seeing that it goes on in the interest of the people. And I think that a lot of that has gone away. It went away a long time ago. I would say maybe the early 1900s was the last time that you saw an actually objective or non-objective Congress and presidency as far as corporations go. You've even got the Supreme Court ruling now. I believe in Montana they just ruled that the states cannot make a law about limits on contributions to politicians. So it's basically the richest guy wins, and corporations are people. Okay, now this was done by the corporations, lawyers that worked for the corporations back in the day. They actually tacked it on to slavery. They said, well, if slaves have the full right to vote, then corporations are people too, and they have the full right to vote. And it's just, we've gone so far down this road, it gets to the point I'll say it again, one generation tolerates, the next embraces. And so, 2 generations down the road, everyone have their own personal drone, monitoring them all the time. Are you going to have cameras on every single street corner, monitoring everyone? Are you going to be chipped and all this? I know, it sounds like freaking nutbaggery. I understand it. I get it. Orwellian. But look at how far we've come in such a short amount of time. And it's accelerating. So, where's the end game, and at what point do you make a stand?